Hey there, it's Money Shift Monday. Teresa here, and I want to welcome you all to this broadcast today. As you begin to join this broadcast live, would you please type in, hello, I'm here, where you're from, etc. For one, it's the only way I know this is really working. And two, it just has me have a sense of who's here to engage with me. So as you hop on and join this live experience, if you could please type in the comments and stuff like that. Hello, I'm here. I see Danette's here. Thank you. Everything's working well. If you do type into the chat, know that I'm not the best at seeing and reviewing them in the midst of the broadcast, and yet I encourage you as you're listening, as I'm sharing things, to pop in with questions or comments or wow, that was powerful or something like that, because I will respond to them either at the end of the broadcast today or later on. I'll come back and respond to them. And if you're watching this via the replay, know that I will do the same thing for you. So please do feel free to engage with me and know that I will engage back with you. Alrighty, well, I see a few people on, so I know things are working. So let me begin by talking about why I've begun to do these Facebook Live broadcasts every Monday at this time with this hashtag Money Shift Monday. It's because, my friends, in my own experience and in my observed experience, I think that the way we do money isn't working. The ways we've been taught to do money aren't working. They might have at one point in time, but they're not now. As I have been an abundance coach for 26 plus years and experienced a lot of scarcity at the same time, I look at all of the challenges that we are facing in our world today, both individually and collectively. And I can see that at the root of all of them is our relationship with money. How we use it, how we make it, the meanings we ascribe to it, and how we've been doing money collectively and perhaps individually is actually creating more scarcity for ourselves and for the world. Even if right now you're thinking, not for me, I'm doing well financially. If you stick around for these broadcasts, I think you might broaden your view and begin to see why it's time for us individually, for our own sake, and for our collective sake, to start to shift our understanding of and relationship with money. That's what I'm committed to for my own life. That's what these broadcasts are designed to awaken you to and support you to do as well. So that being said, let's just check in if anybody else has joined. Good morning, those of you who have. Let's dive into our subject for today. It's a question, if you saw in my posts or read my emails, it's a question I've struggled with for years. It's a question I've heard others asking, and I've heard others sharing very strong opinions about. Abundance. Is it about money, or is it not about money? So the first thing that came to me as I was preparing for this is to note the question itself. It's an either or question, which I now know gives us a clue that it's a question that's coming from our logical, dualistic, egoic minds. It's a question that we ask when, unbeknownst to us, the underlying operating system that's running our lives is what I call the archetype of scarcity. I know I'll be sharing more about that in future episodes, but for now, let me share with you what I've begun to discover about this question, about the connection between abundance and money, by inviting you all to join me in the apple orchard Dan and I have on our property. I call it the Way to Go God Orchard, because truth be told, we've never had the time, the energy, or the skill to really care for it the way it really needs. When we first moved here, it had 30 some apple trees. And because we just couldn't get to the pruning of them and caring for them the way they wanted, they kept getting bigger and bigger. And finally we had to cut out half of them so that the ones that were left could continue to blossom and produce fruit, which is what they do. Some of the best tasting apples I've ever had, which is why I call it the Way to Go God apple orchard. It's definitely not because of Dan and I. Now, despite all of that, my husband, Dan, has for years wanted to expand our orchard and have at least a couple of pear trees. So, here's my question for you. Let's fast forward to August next year, and you're over here. Could we go out to our apple orchard, find 2 trees, and pick all the apples off of those trees, and then tie a bunch of pear trees on its branches and say, yay, Dan has his 2 pear trees? I know, it's kind of a weird analogy, but I hope you get my point. See, the fruit that's hanging on the end of the branches of a tree are not what make it a pear tree. And in much the same way, money isn't really what makes us abundant. So you might go, well, what does? So again, a very silly analogy. But let's say Dan still wants to grow those 2 pear trees. Could he take some apple trees from our apples, plant them in the ground, and have pear trees grow from them? And of course, again, the answer is not. Because we all know this, the seed you start with is going to determine what grows. But going even deeper, it's not even the seed. It's what's inside the seed. What's inside the seed is what makes it pear. It's what's inside the seed that gives it the potential to grow into a pear tree and produce pears for us to eat. Its DNA is pear. Are you following me? Yeah. Now, I'm clear that for a pear seed to become a pear tree and produce pear fruit, it needs certain external resources like good soil and sunlight and the right amount of rain or water. But those externals are not what make it pear. They're just what a pear needs to express its DNA, its inner pearness, externally. First by breaking through the shell, and then sprouting a little root, and then shooting a little shoot above the ground, and then we have a little tree, and then we have a bigger tree, and we finally have a big tree that blossoms and produces fruit. But it's not the fruit at the end of the branches that makes it pear. It's been pear all along because pear is its DNA. It's what's inside of it and always has been. Jumping from that, what I'm inviting you to start to think is that pearness, if that's a word, is an internal before it can ever become an external. And the same is true with abundance. Abundance is an internal, first and foremost, an internal experience, an internal knowing. It's our DNA. In the Christian tradition I grew up with, I'm familiar with the Genesis creation stories, and in them they say that the God who created this vast and abundant and diverse universe made us human beings in God's own image. Our essential nature, our DNA is divine nature abundance, DNA, do you get it? Which means that contrary to what most of us have thought all of our lives, I know I have, or grown up thinking, it's an internal experience that is not a function of money and how much we have. It's not a function of the house you live in or the car you drive. It's not dependent upon what you accomplish or don't or how successful you are in the world or not. It's not dependent or a function of externals. Abundance is about recognizing, claiming, and embodying who we are on the inside, embracing our DNA, and then expressing it outwardly through our choices and actions. So, abundance is not about money. Got it? But yet, to fully express and experience that inner abundance, our divine nature outwardly, to grow into and fully become the unique human beings we were created to be in our world, we need money. Going back to that pear seed analogy, whether it's at the seed stage or the seedling stage or the little tree stage or the full size stage producing fruit, it needs water to grow. If it doesn't get the water it needs in just the right amounts, it will never be able to fully grow and become what it was created to be, a mature tree that produces fruit. It will never produce the fruit, create the fruit it has the potential for. So, being a pear is not about water, and yet being a pear is about water. Water's not what makes a pear, nor does a pear live its life thinking it has to make water and then save and invest water so that when it's done producing fruit, it can retire. That's just us. But for that pear seed to become a pear tree, to produce the fruit, it has the potential within it to produce. It does need external resources like water. And it needs to know how to recognize and absorb and utilize those resources in ways that supports its growth, its life, its health, its ability to thrive. And that same thing is true for us, my friends. Instead of water, it's money, although we need water too. Being abundant is not about money, and yet it is about money and our ability to access and utilize it in ways that support us to grow into the healthy and thriving, unique human beings we have the potential within us to become. We need it for our lives to produce a bounteous harvest of fruit. I'm sure I'll dive into that stuff more in future episodes, but for today, I think we've twisted things up, shifted things up enough. I want to leave you with a few final thoughts and a question. When a pear tree produces pears, those pears are not for the benefit of that pear tree. They benefit the birds and the bugs and the deer and Dan and me, and they benefit future generations of pear trees, the seeds that those fruit create. In much the same way, what I've come to discover, my friends, is money's not what we are here to produce. It's not the fruit or goal of our lives, which I think it's really important to say, because often we make money or external results or external material possessions the goal, especially at the beginning of a new year. Rather, money's a resource like water that we need to learn how to access and utilize in order to grow and produce fruit that blesses others, that helps others to fully claim and know their divine nature of abundance and grow into the unique human beings they were created to be, and to produce the unique fruit they have the potential to produce. So that from our inner abundance, our choices and actions expressed outward, we create and add to abundance for others. I could go on, and I will on future Mondays. But for now, abundance is not about money. And yet, it is about money. Can you see now that, quite the paradox, it's both? Let me know if you can see it as both in the chat by typing both. And then a couple of questions to leave you with for reflection, perhaps for different action. What's inside of you that's wanting to grow outwardly? What fruit do you think you might be uniquely here to create with your life? Fruit that will bless others, that can be shared with others, that can feed others. And what might it look like if just for today you focused on growing that's within inside of you and focused on becoming a fruit bearing human, shall we say, instead of focusing on money? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what comes up to you. Let me know any ahas or questions you have about this. I'm going to quick look at the chat right now and see if there's anything. I see both. I see both. I'm seeing some boths here. This is great. Love this. Awesome. Thank you all for being here. And again, those pear trees look like pear trees, so you could trick yourself just as having money tricks me to think I'm abundant. Yeah, when we hang the fruit, oh, I'm going to get into that on a future Money Shift Money for sure. How many of us like try to hang the fruit that makes us look like a pear tree when inside we're really apple trees? Alrighty. So thanks for joining. I'll come back and make comments in the chat. If you think this was valuable, please feel free to share it with others so that others can join us in this ongoing conversation of how do we individually and collectively shift our relationship with money so that we and everyone gets to experience and share abundance. Have a great day and a great week. We'll see you back here next Monday.